Welcome to the new commissioner, Fiona. How are you? You want to turn your microphone on?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
I teach sociology up at Central Connecticut State University, Cheshire resident since 2004. I'm currently the co-director and or co-chair and executive director of Coalition for Sustainable Cheshire. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary of being in existence, and we brought sustainable CT to the town of Cheshire. Town council voted on a resolution. Peter was a part of that last spring, right in the midst of COVID when it started. And so now our town is registered with Sustainable CT, a statewide coalition and organization. And in the summer, I was named as one of 5 people to the sustainability team here in Cheshire. So parks, open spaces have long been near and dear to my heart. I have 2 daughters who have played on our softball fields and our soccer fields. Got a senior at Cheshire High School right now, Danielle Ellis, who's graduating and did well by the soccer teams here in town. And I'm ready to do my part on Parks and Rec. So thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. Rob, that means you're no longer the new member. You know,
I feel right. I'm glad the new member hazing only lasted a month.
Right. Yeah. But you're still going to be responsible for the shrimp at the meeting in September.
Listen, if we actually meet in September, then
Yep.
shrimp all around.
There you go. All right. Public comment. No public here today. Okay. How about the acceptance of the minutes from January 6th, 2021? Got a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 6th.
I can second the motion.
Discussion? Any corrections? Steve, you're raising your hand, or you just,
No, I'm scratching myself. Sorry.
okay. All right, so all in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Unanimous. Mark, are you awake?
Yes. I'm
You
awake.
put in a few hours the last couple days, huh?
Yeah, couple. Fine.
So all the parks are plowed, right? That's what we're concerned about.
All the sidewalks are done. Yeah. No, the parks guys been great. I'm sure they're sleeping now, but they've been working on not only servicing and equipment, but majority of the snowstorms, all the sidewalks, and the buildings, and then the outlying areas. So, but everybody's safe and healthy, and we're fully staffed. So we're good.
Good. Anything new on the parks besides a lot of snow?
Not really, just cleaning up, doing basic cleanup.
Okay.
With the open space we finished last month, going through that from the previous storm damage with the trees. So they've cleaned up all that. So now we're just servicing equipment and doing storms.
Okay.
Hey, Pat, one thing on the open space. I know a couple of the parks guys had stopped by, was it last week or the week before, when they were doing that cleanup, and they had made some comments that some of the parcels, the maps that we have to give to people, didn't line up to what they saw when they went out there to do the cleanup. So at some point, we're going to have to make a recommendation to Suzanne Simone or somebody to see if we can maybe update those maps or do something.
Okay. So how are we going to update those maps? Do we need to get surveyors to do it, or?
No, it's probably just maybe sitting down with Suzanne and maybe doing some site walks and seeing just how bad the trails, maybe some new trails were blazed that shouldn't be, and maybe doing some work with Connecticut Parks, like a consultant or something, and maybe reblazing some of those trails and creating some new maps. But could be a big project, but I like to take the small steps first, and maybe sit down with her, because that's been kind of her baby, and kind of address it there first and see where it goes. But I just wanted to make you aware that the maps
Right.
They had gone out to D. Dominicus and the Dime Bank property, and the maps weren't jiving to what they were seeing out there.
Okay.
So it could be a concern.
So this is not a project for a student from the high school then?
They probably could be, maybe not initially, but maybe when we're doing the trailblazing, or if there's such a group that maybe they want to, it's a learning opportunity, or maybe there's something past the administrative level that we could maybe incorporate that if it exists.
Okay. All right.
But I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could throw something in there. I know in the fall, we were going to go out there with Suzanne and with the groundskeeper and go through and check the trails. We never got around to it due to the fact that we had the storms and then the turn of the weather. But that is on something that we had planned to do.
Excellent.
Okay. You know what, Signe, and I see you here, and I didn't see you on the agenda. Maybe I don't have an updated one, so I don't want to keep you waiting. If you have something you'd like to say, so you can move along.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize too. I think Stephanie Signian had sent a couple emails last week towards the end of the week. I didn't get a chance to respond back, but she had some copies of the signs that we were going to share that I think Stephanie had sent something out on Monday, maybe
Right.
that probably you didn't see.
If you have a copy of that sign, maybe you can put it up. I think I got one in an email, and it didn't look like anything we had talked about previously.
Well, and actually what it is the logo with the QR code inserted in the middle.
Okay.
So this is something that would be on the sign. And this is the design that one of the students from the high school came up with. I think she did a beautiful job. And this gives you an example of, again, what it would look like with the QR code on there. The reason I asked or appreciate being seen again is that a few things have come into play, and that includes a opportunity to have a Yale professor who teaches graphic design help us with the design of the signage. And then in addition, a former Cheshire High School graduate who is employed in a sign making company in Southington has volunteered at no cost to carry through the design project. The only thing we would have to pay for is materials. And beyond that, the University of Connecticut contact person for the conservation training program that we're working with has aligned us, our team aligned us with a resource that is a funding source. And they are willing to meet with us on Friday on a Zoom meeting to help us with funding for the signage. In addition, the folks that are willing to produce these signs for us have said that they would help with maintaining the quality and the replacement, if need be, of the signs. And so all of this is sort of new, relatively new information. Actually, I just got this information at our last meeting last Friday. We meet every Friday. And so I wanted to share that with you all and get a sense that it's a go. In other words, I'm not sure when we'll finally start the signage process in terms of manufacturing and so on and so forth. But do I have the authorization from this commission to start the process?
Well, it seems like there's a lot of moving parts here. And right now, one of the things I'm a little confused about is I think you showed us the design of the sign, but then you also said we've got someone in the graphic arts who's going to work on a design. So I don't know that we even have a design of the sign yet.
Well, we have a framework. Basically, what the graphic designer would do from Yale is sort of put it into a design format. We would give him a copy of what we have in mind, but they would actually do the technical work that would be required in order to have a sign made, if that makes any sense.
So is he going to, and I apologize, Chairman Duffy, but is he going to make it what they call camera ready then for printing?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. So it's sort of like our idea and then the next step to the whole design process.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So
Anybody else have any comments?
So, yeah, so you'll come back with like a proof of what the whole thing's gonna look like one more time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
But at
Yeah.
the same time, though, it's a lot of energy that's going to be utilized to get to the next step. I guess I'm looking for confirmation that there's a certain acceptance of the idea and the plan and so on and so forth.
So Pat, at the last meeting, we talked about the different styles or
Right, we
types.
have three different styles of bases, basically.
So was there one that we liked over the other so that,
Mhm.
you know, Signian can maybe work towards that direction, and then, you know, the sign, we could see a mock-up or a proof at that appropriate time? I mean, I think she's thinking in theory, is it okay that she could go ahead with this project if we liked one of those bases of that particular sign?
Well, I mean,
I think that's-
I'll
I
defer
think
to
that's
the
where we're at
commission.
right now.
Yeah, I'll defer to the commission because we had three pictures of signs, and I don't know if you can see them or not.
I think you picked the white one for the design, but the one on the left-hand corner for the coloring. You liked so you didn't like the one that was totally white with black printing. But you liked the sign setup in terms of its base and so on and so forth.
Right, but maybe I'm not looking at this the right way, but what you showed me tonight is nothing like that, like any of these.
And this, as I suggested, this is a logo that would be used to encase the QR sign. So that would be on the sign.
So it would be
This-
part of the sign, not the whole
Correct.
sign.
That's
Okay,
exactly. Yes.
okay. Does
So I guess-
anybody have any questions?
Well, I think we'll know more when we see the mock-up of them.
I mean, I'm okay with the concept of that,
Yeah,
of some
Yeah.
sort of an informational sign, that number 2. And then I guess the commission would like to see, you know, what's the final product or where you're leading towards is what's going to be on it. But I think the actual base and the concept of having some informational sign for your program to be on the trail, I think is okay, commission?
yes.
Good. And the students are getting ready to present their project, or the team, March 15th at a conference sponsored through, will be supported by the University of Connecticut coordination members for our team. And I think that's pretty exciting too. The students have done a fantastic job, and they're in the process of getting ready to complete this QR code. When people zone into that with their phones, they'll be taken to a website that will have various facts and resources, et cetera, for people to use as additional educational information on the trail or about the trail. And the students have done a phenomenal job. They've worked really, really hard. And so anyway, all the work has come to a pretty nice fruition.
So will what you showed us tonight, is that going to be part of the sign? And then there'll be some writing on the sign also? And then
Yep.
to get more in-depth, you'd use the, okay,
Yep, QR. Yep.
Mike,
Yeah, I don't know if it's been asked or not. Do you have to go through planning and zoning or anything to put this sign on the linear path?
I
Peter might know.
I'm not a real P and Z guy, so I don't think so, but it's certainly worth checking.
Yeah, I hate to see you put it up and then somebody complain and it didn't go through
Exactly.
planning and zoning. So maybe you might want to check with them and see if there's anything you have to do there.
Okay. And then the question I had too was, do we put it up, or do, facilities in the town have to put it up? I have no idea.
Who did you say was going to maintain it? Remember you just said someone would be, one of the groups was going to be interested in maintaining it. I would think they'd be the group that would put it up if it's okay with Mark or under Mark's supervision.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't want to neglect going through another department if I needed to in terms of installation.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I would just check with planning and zoning, and yeah, we just need to know where it's going to go so it's not in the way of plowing, bicycles, wetlands.
Yep.
Just make sure we're in the right spot. We don't want to have to remove it after putting it in.
Okay, and yeah, we would like to avoid that too. Okay.
So Signia, and I will check in with planning and zoning for you and then reach back with you. And then at the time that it's appropriate, then maybe we could meet Mark or other reps from Public Works and finalize a location to make sure that it's done once.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And how many are you planning on having?
Only 3, one at
Okay.
each of the sites that we've talked about.
Okay. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
So
thank
long.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pretty exciting.
Peter, you're up.
Just
What do you bring us from up the street?
a couple things. January 12th, the meeting is, as John has probably told you, the fee structure was approved unanimously, so the field fees are a done deal. Retroactive back to January 1st, so they're in effect now. And we are about 5 to 6 weeks away from budgets beginning, so that's
Okay,
really it.
all right. Communications? I didn't get anything. Did you, John?
Nope, zero.
No, okay. So on to the chairman's report. The ordinances that John and I had worked on have been presented to the ordinance committee, right, John?
Yes.
And so they're looking at those.
Question.
John?
Pat, just
Go
one
ahead,
quick
John.
question. Peter, how does that happen now? Does the ordinance committee of the council will then have a public meeting, or do they do it separate, or how does that all work? Because I'm new
All
to
of
that.
and I sit on ordinance with Dave Velaber and Don Walsh. So the 3 of us will have a meeting. The meeting is a public meeting. And we'll go over them, make a recommendation to the council, and then the council as a whole will vote on it.
Okay, so are we involved at any level, or is it just the 3 of you guys?
What I would recommend is, obviously any of the commission members are welcome, but obviously you're going to be asked to be
Okay.
there to present the changes on behalf of the commission.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. John and I have been working on a revised form for bench requests. And we'd hope to be able to present it to you today, but something happened on Monday and we had a little interruption in our delay of our meeting. So next month we'll hopefully get that to you.
So, but basically what we're looking to do is the memorial bench form that's on our Park and Rec webpage. We're just looking to add location to it and trying to maybe steer people away from the linear trail, because I don't know how many more we're going to be able to put there. And then maybe work with Public Works to find suitable locations at other parks. And perhaps maybe the parks locations that need some benches would mean a little bit more than putting a memorial bench on the linear trail. So that's what we're kind of looking at. But once we get the form finalized, we'll bring it back to you guys to take a look for any suggestions or appropriate edits.
Will you put those suggestions on that form, did you say? Or would it be maybe better if you were to say that it would be up to you to designate a spot and you could get back to them with where or how?
Yeah, we're going to put the park locations that there are spots available, and then the group, as you guys have done previously, we could talk about the exact location or locations that maybe Public Works has outlined where we can go with the bench.
Yeah, I think at this point it would be better for you to be able to place these benches. They continue to come in more frequently than in the past. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing I can do is steal a little John's thunder, and he and Ryan presented the new, I guess, plan for the farm to the town council, right, John?
Yeah, the master final plan for the Bartlam Chapman piece. Yeah.
The feedback, according to John and I talked about this, the feedback was, I guess 4 items. Number 1 was the softball field, which is located now next to the yellow house and was going to be turned. Someone questioned why we needed to do that, I guess, and why we were going to have a backstop at the entrance to the park. So that's an issue, potentially. Also, the trees that are lining the street, were they going to be blocking the view of the park? And I think what was told was that the land is going to actually be coming up, and if you pick the right type of tree, that it won't be blocking the entrance to the park. And then the other thing was the entrance where it was going to be. It's not going to be where it is now. It's going to be across from Elmwood Drive, and that's just a traffic issue. And then the last issue was the size of the town green. The green up in the center of town, the church green, is 32,000 square feet, and this green is only 20,000 square feet. So that's something that I guess is going to have to be worked on. And I don't know if anybody has any comments or any questions now or suggestions. John.
So yeah, Ryan made a nice final presentation to the council. It seemed to be accepted, and the feedback that we got seemed to be very positive. There were a few situations and issues that councilors had come up with that you alluded to. One was the softball field, and so we've already attached a new design where it keeps the softball field in its current location. So it gave the appearance of still having more of an open view. But just as a footnote, there are 13 trees that line Route 10. So when those trees are in full canopy, and because they're down a little bit lower from the sidewalk, because it's not level, it kind of slopes off. In your vehicle, those canopies are going to block your view unless we do something, if this project ever comes to fruition, if we want to change that look. But currently there's 13 trees there, but we're going to leave the field there. So we have a new drawing to bring back to council to take care of that. Then Ryan had said that we had discussed early on, and it's been over a year with this project and so many meetings. The curb cut that exists now to get into the old Chapman Farm property is probably about 25 feet different than the Hartford Healthcare building that's next door. So his traffic engineer for Weston and Sampson did not like that and felt that pushing it up north a little bit to align with Elmwood would be a better solution for that park. So he goes into a little bit of a narrative that we do have to bring back to the council. As far as eliminating some of the trees, he felt that he doesn't recommend eliminating those. But he has some other alternatives, again, that he put into a narrative without getting winded, that we'll bring back to the council, that I think is fair, but we could still, it's obviously everything's on the table and open for discussion. And then there was the town green, looking at the size and having some sort of a reference point. So we went back to, he was able to pull off GIS maps and take a look at the current town green and see if we could at least replicate that particular size, because it does handle the current functions now. And maybe we need to go a little bit bigger there and eliminate the pavilion that's proposed there, because maybe we don't need to have the pavilion there. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I think some good direction, some really good feedback. And I'm hoping that we could come to, next month's council meeting and propose those, have a discussion with the council, and hopefully the council can adopt it as a full project and, subject to any funding for the next phase or for the first phase. And then I'll have to go through budget.
Where is that green again? Where is the green on the plan?
So if you go on the plan, it's on the town's webpage. I don't know if you could see this very well.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Route 10 runs along here.
Yeah.
Here's the yellow house. Here's the softball field and its current orientation. And so the green is basically where the entrance, just near the entrance to the old farm right now, currently.
Okay.
Right on Route 10.
Yeah. What is right around it? You said there's a pavilion, and what else? Like there's not extra space?
Well, no, there's a proposed pavilion on the east side. You can't really see that too well right here. So, you could probably push this green east a little bit to get, that size footprint that the church offers right now for the town green.
Yep. I get.
Two comments.
Sure.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Karen. It's been a long time.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the meeting.
As someone who's had softball players play on those fields, and this was not brought up during the town council meeting, I mean, one of the reasons I understood from the developer that they moved that field was because of the glare for the softball players. Right. And I think that is something that I respect the one town councilor's perspective, but I would really like to hear from the softball players who are going to be utilizing that field regarding their perspective. And so if there are coaches or, reaching out to the different softball teams in town, I would prefer to have them weigh in before we make any concrete change regarding that issue. Because I think that's a valid, having had an umpire or a catcher who worked on those fields, the glare is a real issue. So
yeah, it's not oriented the right way to play it, especially in the evening with the sun.
Yeah, and that was not brought up during the meeting. And I think a counselor would be open to that if they were to hear that perspective. So I just think that is something that we should consider. And then second, regarding the trees, because I remember hearing the issue about the trees, the developer, Weston and Sampson, did provide some responses regarding trees. Trees obviously provide canopy for birds and wildlife, but trees provide shade. And just thinking about parades on Route 10 or thinking about sitting on a softball field, those trees do provide real shade that is valued. So I think that's something that we ought to also consider. I know that the concern was it obstructed the view, but I think the shade is something that's really important for us to consider in thinking about the future of the park. So just two things to consider that we might put forth.
Good points. Thanks.
Yeah.
Also, maybe Pat or some of the other commissioners may remember when those trees were put in. It's a concept that obviously we weren't going to put a fence up there, and it was almost going to be a natural barrier between Route 10 and the softball field to offer some protection. Whether it's spectators or flying balls, whatever the case may be. So there was a method to the madness for the tree going in there and the size of the trees.
Right.
And then one other piece, Pat, was that Bartlam Park with the Chapman property, there's 3 separate parcels, and Weston and Sampson had done a survey back in the late summer, early fall, So we would need council approval to accept the recommendation to make it one parcel. So as we go through the process, if it ever gets funded and adopted, that we're dealing with one parcel and the characteristics of one parcel versus three separate ones. So that was the last piece.
And then was the town attorney weighed in on that, right? And
Yes.
He said that it is possible to do.
Yes,
And then Bill Volkler weighed in on it also, I think.
that's correct.
Okay.
I
The
think
park,
I just
the park,
want,
the
Mark had a
park is-
question.
the
Mark
park
had a
is-
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Just if they do move fields, is in the price, is it included the irrigation to be moved and put in for the new field? That's all.
Good question. I'm not sure, but I'll check it out.
I was just going to make a point about the entrance, the location of the entrance. You're only talking twice a day that there's traffic there, and I wouldn't think those would be busy times for the park. Just might be something to bring up. It sounded like if there was another conflict or not, but it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock in the morning. So, and the entrance where it is right now is actually a safety issue for the kids crossing over there, I think. So no matter where you put it, there will be, I think, issues with the high school students. I think it's actually going to be in a better spot though, but it's my 2 cents.
Moving it, you mean?
I think moving it is actually, yeah, I think would be better. The kids cross right there to get into the parking lot, after school. And kids are pulling out of there too, at the same area. So it might be nice not to have that traffic where the kids are crossing when we move it to Elm Street.
Okay.
I think we're talking about two separate entrances.
Yeah,
Um,
there is.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we
have,
are?
we have the entrance at the light, Karen, which
Yeah,
is there
I'm
now.
that.
And then the entrance I think that they're referring to is the current entrance to the old Chapman property, which they would actually shift north up more towards Elmwood Circle, almost make a four-way intersection, I would think. Is that correct, John?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah.
I see.
That's
Okay,
right,
so me
Steve.
too.
Thank you.
All right, gotcha.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I have one thing to say. I think they should try and keep the softball field where he designed it, because he designed that around the sun when he moved that softball field.
Right.
When we talked about limiting the 2 to 1. Because
That's right, Mike.
and he did the same thing when he redid the baseball fields on the other side up at fields there. They did sun tests and everything else to put it where it was best safety for the children. It doesn't matter if the backstop's up to it. I think they should try and keep it where it is. I don't know if it's worth a fight, but.
Well, you could also put a black backstop up and then the trees planted around it.
Yeah, you could design it up if you want, but for the safety of the players and the parents and everybody else, it's easier to have the sun to your back and than it is looking in your eyes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a perspective. I think it was an opportunity. People do like the openness, and when you start dotting it with different things and start looking at the development of it, does it lose some character? I don't know, but it certainly has better form and function with what the consultant has presented. So, to be continued.
I hope when you're driving up Route 10, you're really not looking at it.
My kids played on it, so I know what it was like when they.
No, but I mean, you aren't worried where the if you're looking where the backstop is when you're driving up Route 10, we're going to have a big problem.
It's a park with kids and people. I look to see if there's people on it, and if there is, that's great.
Right. Okay, old business. So we've done the Chapman property.
Yep.
John, you want to weigh in on the budget?
The budget has been submitted. The performance measures have been submitted. Capital items have been submitted. Just waiting now for my sit down with town manager Kimball to review park and rec operations and the pool operations and council workshops, public workshops.
Okay. Park fees.
Peter addressed that. So we're good there. And also the town ordinances, we're good there.
Right. So our meeting calendar, did anybody have any changes from the first Wednesday of each month? How about you, Paul?
No, they're all good for me.
Okay. So now we're down to Memorial. Well, so then you know what? We should keep our schedule with the first Wednesday of each month, 7 o'clock. Everybody agrees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we have a new memorial bench request for Emma Norback. Everybody got that?
No.
Did you see it? Did you guys get a copy of it or not?
I see it
Okay.
either.
No. Did not.
Really? It wasn't
No.
part of your packet?
Nope.
All right, I'll read it to you. It's from,
Oh, Pat, hold on
Sure.
1 second, please.
sure,
Stephanie would like you to take a formal motion on the calendar
okay.
acceptance.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the meeting schedule as proposed.
Second? I'll second it. Discussion? All in favor?
I,
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Stephanie says thank you.
okay. So now, down to the memorial bench request. This is for Emma Norback. Her son Thomas Norback requested a bench in memory of his mother who passed away January 1st, 2021. And he tells us that she frequented the linear trail and had a lot of joy from her time spent there. And I don't think he really requested any particular location. And just the bench, and basically in loving memory of Emma Norback. To have a friend, you have to be a friend. Oh, and I'm sorry, approximately 174 feet south of Noreen Buckley Cassini. Requested location.
yeah, it's another bench.
Right. So it's 174 feet south of that.
You should be more specific.
I don't know where.
I
I don't know where
if it is.
Noreen Buckley Cassini
on the
is.
ground, Paul.
This is what we're discussing.
Do we have a location of that bench?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure. Mark, do
Okay.
you have any idea of where that might be? We'll have to take a look at it, Pat.
Right.
I think
So,
It
Yeah, we
sounds
have
like
we have to figure out where all these benches are
Yeah.
and what we open, because when we start, it's getting hard for these guys to maintain. Every bench you put in, every sign you put in, everything you put in has to be weed whacked around, mowed around, cleared around.
Yep.
So I think one of the goals this winter or this spring is to really figure out what we have and what we need.
Well, it might be a good time to start the new policy that Park and Rec chooses.
Something tells me the location is probably between North and South Brooksville because Mrs. Norback lived on Avon, so.
okay.
So
So,
we want to make a motion that we accept it and try and fulfill the spot if there's one available. Otherwise, we go to the
Yeah, that sounds
closest
good
we
to me.
can.
Go ahead, Mike.
okay, yeah, he requested the black bench, so that's fine. Okay, do we want to take a motion?
Okay. Take a motion that we accept this bench and try and fulfill their request to have it in the section between North Brooksville and South Brooksville.
But if not,
If not, then we put it in the most reasonable place we can, closest to where they were looking for.
well, I thought we were gonna say it was gonna be left to the park director. I mean, Park and Rec director. If there isn't a spot on the
Okay.
limited time.
Well, we're still working on that. I mean, that's a work in progress, Karen.
Right.
Because I still have to meet with Mark and Public Works just to see, as you just alluded to now, I mean, the more we keep putting in all these benches, is there a saturation point on the trail? And did we get to a point where, you know, how many do we put at the parks and how saturated, and can we maintain all those? So we're still a little bit off time away from that. But I mean, where these are specific to the trail, if there is the space, then we could accommodate those. And hopefully by the next meeting, if any other new bench requests come in, maybe it's an opportunity, or we get that needs map that Mark's talking about, just to see how much space is available, then we could decide then.
Okay, that's fine. I just
So
trying
we're back to a motion then. Mike, you want to?
What, Mike?
state
All right.
motion?
Let's say, make a motion, we accept, and we try and place in the spot they're looking for, if possible. If not, then try and get it to the closest that we can. At closest open spot to where they're looking for.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. And then we have another bench request, which is left over from last month. And this one's in memory of Oscar Colegio, Colegio. And this was requested between Lock 12 and Hamden on the Farmington Canal. And they checked the green color, but wondered if they could make it orange. And I think we decided that orange won't go. So they do have green. And again, Mike, you want to make another motion, saying you're on the groove with how to do it?
All right, we'll make the same motion, similar motion. Make a motion, we accept the bench request and try and fulfill putting it where they're desired. If not, we will put it in the nearest closest open spot to their request.
I'll second. But bottom line is, in these motions, we should say, we make the best accommodations we can to make them happy, but if we can't do it, we're gonna put it where we want, or where we can. I mean, that's the underlining message in all this. If we start getting saturated in that area, we're not gonna put it there.
Yeah, that's what I brought up. I thought that's.
No, I know. That's why we have to make sure where these things are going. We can't really.
It didn't sound like John was saying that he might be in favor of stopping the benches altogether. I thought we were just talking about location in the beginning of this meeting, but it sounds like it might be more than that. So
I think it's a little bit of everything, just kind of seeing where we're at, and, you know, consulting with Public Works too, since we're just adding to their maintenance needs.
Well, you know, originally, years ago, we brought up actually several times over the years, making some sort of a memory place that people could purchase these memory plaques when we were looking to raise money for the pool. You guys remember that? Anybody?
Yeah, you kind of have like a memorial brick there or something like that. Or
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it would be better, since we have so many places to sit now. I mean, originally this was great because we didn't have any benches, but now we're getting saturated. Maybe we could start talking about, if they're going to spend all this money on a bench, maybe they would make a memory plaque and it could benefit the Park and Rec somehow, you know, the money.
Or just start.
Karen, are you talking about a plaque or a stone, something that they'd be walking on?
Something, yeah, whatever, wherever we might be able to do something small that wouldn't be costly, and the money donated in their name, instead of putting it into the bench, it'd be a fundraiser.
Aaron, what I'll do is I'll send out an email through my professional association just to kind of get ideas of how other municipalities are handling memorial types of things, whether it's trees, plaques, and just kind of get an idea of maybe the different things that are out there, and then we can report back at the next meeting.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like a lot of, usually it's because Park and Recs has been beloved to these people. So I'm sure they would appreciate their money being used to help the town, I would think. So, all right, great, John, thanks.
Okay. John, I guess you're up for the director's report.
Sure. Everyone's got a copy. Welcome, Fiona, again. You're at the top. Glad that you're with us, and we can maybe tap your expertise on open space and programming, management, that type of stuff.
Board of Ed, she's great at that.
Community pool. We're still having some boiler issues going back through since November. With different parts and service calls. We're into it for about $9,000 right now. The impeller to the 20-year-old pump has failed. We cannot find one to get customized to work with that pump. So we are just ordered a pump, and it still has 4 to 5 weeks to go before it's installed. The cost for that is at least $20,000 plus the services of an electrician at the town's cost. Weston and Sampson, their aquatics division. If you recall, the midsummer, they did a pool assessment. We've hired them to do an HVAC assessment. So hopefully with both assessments, we can get together, present to the council, and have an idea of going forward for better capital planning, as the pool, I believe, is now over 21 years old. So George Nawatney told me that the skin, the roof and that skin, I think we're 6 years into that. And I think that only has another 4 or 5 years to go in its lifetime before that has to be considered to maybe be replaced. And I guess 6 years ago, the cost was $350,000. So that'll be included in those assessments so that we can discuss those things and maybe perhaps plan for those. The Chapman update, we've already discussed that. The non-resident park fees, we got approval. I'll have my field meeting sometime at the end of this month. It'll be a Zoom meeting. You all will get an invite if you would like to participate. I think some of you guys did last year as well. And I had that one in January, but we weren't faced with COVID at that point. I don't know what the situation with COVID is going to be and what restrictions are going to be for outdoor athletics yet. Hopefully it's going to be okay. The Mixville guardhouse, the gate guardhouse. If you recall, we were talking about trying to do some sort of system where we could continue the cashless using technology. But after talking to a few different companies, gathering up all the fees for the equipment and the software, and then going back to last summer and all the meetings and the calls and the emails, we felt that probably the best direction for us is to have boots on the ground, have the 2 park rangers that we had. The residents expect a safe park, a clean park, an accessible park. And I think that takes care of that. Public Works, in theory, has agreed to demo the guard shack that's there. They have Rich Pruitt has proposed a newer, smaller version. And then all we would need, there's a pole right there. We would just need an electrical outlet that's in there and some Wi-Fi so that we could operate our current system that we have now, RecTrack, so that we could still offer, debit card or credit card using our system for day passes and whatnot. So we're going to propose that to the council. It will be an increase in staff costs for Mixville, but we think that's, at this point, that's the better option of what was available to us versus the technology.
John?
Yeah.
Will we be limiting the number of people at the park?
If we don't have any COVID restrictions, it'll just be limited it'll be self-limiting based on the parking availability with the 2 people that we have present.
So if we still have COVID restrictions, what kind of number can we expect to come in there?
Well, I think, Pat, we'd have to see first what's being allowed for outdoor public gatherings. If it's 100, if it's 125, if it's 50, we'll have to kind of take a look at that and weigh what we would need to do and work with Public Works. And maybe there's a different way to provide, if we have the staff there, we won't have to do the self-limiting capacity parking solution that we had last year with the Millings berm going through the middle of it.
Right.
Because we didn't have anybody there. So
I just wondered if any, in your Connecticut Professional Association, how they're dealing with their parks as far as capacity and what's safe.
I mean, I could find out. I'm trying to think of who has parks that are similar. It would probably be a lot of the shoreline towns that have, the beach parking with a guardhouse and, what are they allowing to the beach and how they're doing that. I could check in on that.
Okay.
Are you taking any rentals on any of the pavilions right now?
We're not
Like
doing
next
anything until March 1st.
Okay.
So we're
Thank
hoping that we get through February and we kind of gauge and see what's happening. And, the numbers are still trending in a positive direction. Hopefully that continues with all the vaccinations, then the rollouts. Hopefully we get to a point we may have to push that out a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
I am interested in maybe this number 5 in creating a friends group or a foundation group. And maybe that plays into Karen's, program for memorializing family members or whoever is important to your family. I'd be interested maybe if there was someone on the commission that wanted to take it up as a project. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Creating foundations take a lot of work and a lot of time, a lot of effort. We do have a new attorney on our commission. Maybe we can get some guidance and a direction. So I leave that there. I carry that over from months over. It's not a high priority thing, but I think it's something that, could provide us with some alternative streams of fundraising for fields, for equipment, for special events, other capital projects. I will tell you that I did have a pleasant conversation with Frank Lohman of the John G. Martin Foundation. The John G. Martin Foundation has some considerable amount of money to pass on this year. And so I took the opportunity and the liberty to send them an email on 3 different projects that I'm presenting in this year's capital budget. One was the lights for Cheshire Park pickleball tennis. The other one was the Mixville building. And the other one, and don't laugh, Peter, was the Showmobile. So I really think there's an opportunity, Pat, there's an opportunity for the Showmobile still. I'm not letting it die away. But anyway, we had a Zoom meeting for about 45 minutes. He really likes the Mixville building that will provide our camp for an area of refuge and, maybe on the shoulder seasons of the summer and maybe during the summer, outdoor educational programming space. So I am going to apply for a grant. I was talking to Sean Kimball about it. The money may come in 2 different years, but I still have to do a presentation in June to the John G. Martin Foundation. So there could be $150,000 coming to the town of Cheshire. Could be. But it all depends on how well the presentation goes and if his board likes the project. He really likes the project and the connection of the John G. Martin Foundation with outdoor education. So that's a positive. So getting back, I don't know, Karen, if you heard that, maybe if you want to work on the foundation, or we could have maybe a separate committee group and talk about that. I think it's worth a discussion anyway, or a couple.
Okay. Okay.
I'm happy to weigh in whatever 2 cents I can add as far as setting up foundations. It's part of my day job. So
Excellent. Thanks. Field distribution meeting probably happened the end of this month. The dog park shelter, Mark, did you guys ever get a chance to do that, or did the snow kind of stop that?
They treated the legs. We treated that, so it's ready to go when the weather breaks.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. The number 8, the ordinances, we're just going to wait for that ordinance subcommittee of the council to meet. Park projects, I'll leave that's been carried over. This is just some of the things that that we're working together with Public Works. Just one caveat in red there. Tim Weed, our program coordinator, I had him go out recently just as an opportunity for him to get acclimated with the parks, even though he's a resident, but in his professional capacity. And I wanted him to audit the parks, take a look, see what he may think has some issues or things that need to be corrected. But also, more importantly, was to create a master list for us for equipment, for bases, pitching plates, home plates, volleyball nets, basketball court nets, tennis nets, get some pricing so that we have like a go-to list. And he's got it in a nice Excel spreadsheet based on park and the number of needs and all that stuff. So that was a good project for him to complete for us. Also in the blue, probably next week, I'm going to send out a letter to all the property abutters to the McNamara Legion Park fields. I've gotten a request from CYB, Cheshire Youth Baseball. They would like to discontinue the use of the temporary fence on field 4. The 3 other fields that are there are totally enclosed with chain link fence. They would like to replace that outfield fence with a permanent chain link fence. It doesn't stay up. It presents problems. The poles are an issue that stick up. The net's kind of it's a worn system. It needs replacing. So they've come to me to see if we could take care of it. In talking with George and talking with Bill Volker, they suggested either a signage or doing what I'm doing, sending a notice to property abutters. I think at some point years ago, there was some verbal agreement with the homeowners group that lives around there that field was supposed to be open all the time for kite flying and dog running. I don't know if anybody else has any experience with that, but the users of the park or the league would like to make that change. So if anybody has any objections or any ideas or a different feeling, just let me know.
Is that the 75 footer or the in-between field back there on
Yes.
the back, right? Okay.
Yeah, if you're looking at the fields, the one in the far right corner.
Yeah, I know there was some agreement that they would leave some open space for the neighborhood way back when they fenced in. So my kids were playing Little League back then, but I don't think anything's written, but.
I mean, if it's a neighborhood park, then we're taking and making it a dedicated sports park. And
Yes.
the residents aren't going to have the sort of freedom to, maybe not with their dogs anymore, but certainly fly kites or run around with their kids.
Correct.
So are you okay with me sending a letter, or would you not want to even go down that road?
I don't know. What other members of the commission have to say?
Well, I think, John, by sending a letter, we'll get an idea of what the neighbors' thoughts are. Whether or not that's an old suggestion. Those people may have even moved away. It could be new people. So yeah,
I
Do
don't
we
like
want to
that.
take and dedicate that park to just ball fields, though?
No, I don't like the idea of pigeonholing it into one thing.
Right.
Because there's now, like, with the fences so short there, I mean, honestly, the adult softball league used to use that one when Little League was done. But they put those fences so short, they can't even use it anymore. I think the more you do that, the limit who can use them. And they have plenty of baseball fields they can use with fences. I don't know if we want to do that or not.
Okay.
Because you put the one up at Cheshire Park for the big center field there. So that one gets fenced in at one point. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like the parks to be used for everybody, not just for one certain group.
That's a good point, Mike.
That's why I'm bringing it to you guys. So if you guys feel that way, that's fine. Then I won't pursue going in that different direction.
Especially if Chapman gets off the ground, the Chapman property, and we lose a field there, we're going to be down another one. And pigeonholing what you can do on one certain field limits where else, maybe, because if we start tearing up more fields there, we're going to have to move, lacrosse or softball or somebody else to other fields. And if you put a fence there, you limit them from being able to use it at all.
It's a good point.
John, are they upset that the fence is dangerous? Is that why they want to put a permanent one up there? Because he said like it's drooping and it's.
Well, I think it was an opportunity. They don't have the funds right now to buy a new temporary fence. The temporary fence that they have is old, and so it's got the like the stop sign type of a pole versus what we just purchased. Public Works just purchased new temporary fences for Bartland Park, Field 2 and Field 3, that has a plastic type of a fence. So it's a combination of two, and then making the field. I think, Mike, they wanted to go back to, I think you could fit 2 1/4. So they wanted to push that back, but it still does limit the use if you do enclose it.
Yeah, with a permanent fence, you limit what you can, who else can use it.
Right.
That's all.
Nice, put a nice temporary one up
It's a
there.
neighborhood park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, like at Highland School, they took one of the baseball fields away. One of the back ones there. So we're losing fields.
Well, it's still there. Highland still has 2 fields.
They took the backstop away. If they didn't even cut it or anything. My son played on this summer. It was completely gone. The backstop, and the one all the way back by the woods.
Oh, I thought when I was out.
In July, we were there. July or August, my son was playing softball on that, and it was gone. I'm saying you lose fields, and all of a sudden it's gonna be hard to get them back.
Well, don't forget, we've got 10 acres by still, right, Peter? Right?
Where are you saying?
I say we still have 10 acres up by the prison to develop for fields.
Exactly.
What happened to
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
What happened to that? I mean, that whole,
keep asking the state for more land.
There.
I would hold off on that. In my opinion, I would hold off on putting a permanent fence in there.
a permanent one, you can put a temporary one up there.
A temporary one I have no problem with.
Yeah,
Permanent
just fix
one.
the temporary.
All right, moving right along. Cheshire Park Pavilion, we're still naming it after Mark Jardam. I just haven't gotten around to assign a specific sign and the specifications, but that's on my list to take care of this spring. Summer concerts, the council at its last council meeting, January 12th, approved to extend last year's bid for this year only to Power Station. I met with them recently, and barring any guidelines and any restrictions to outdoor gatherings, we pushed the summer concerts back by a couple of weeks. So we're going to go August 6, 13, 20, and 27. Just hopefully to get enough people vaccinated, and hopefully, we'll be able to have more people of a capacity, and maybe there won't be anything, and we could have concerts with the normal, crowd that we usually get. So now we're just working on trying to secure different acts. We had 4 really good ones last year, so we're looking to maybe replicate that schedule, see who's available now that we changed the dates and it's a year later. But we could be back to you probably the March or April meeting and let you know who we secured.
I have a question on that. Do we have to put a down payment to them?
Not right now. Not right
Okay.
now. So it's all, I mean, a lot of people, everything's all contingent on
Okay.
where the pandemic's going. So hopefully not. I mean, if that's the case.
Yeah, I'd like to see it happen, but I don't want to give us money away that
Oh,
for a
no,
contract
no,
that's
no.
never going to happen.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
not at all. Not at all. The Bartlett concession, as you recall, the CYB sent it back to the town. They don't want anything to deal with it. They didn't want any of the equipment. So we did invite the Cheshire High School concession stand. Mike Federico came over and is going to take a few things, some racks, and this little deli kind of sandwich maker with some refrigeration behind, taking it to the concession stand over at the high school. The pool took a couple of the refreezers for their needs at the pool. And there's still some other things in there like the grill. The Friolator is shot. The inside is filthy. But with Bartlett South and maybe the master plan and the field and the town green, all of a sudden now that building is kind of like prime location and could be maybe utilized through a public bid. We could sit down and talk about what type of a program we want to have there. Do we really want to go back to a Friolator, a full service kitchen, or do we want it to be something different? So that's kind of fun because the building is in great shape, structurally. Just the inside needs a really good cleaning, but it could provide some benefit down the end, down the road when we start, if anything starts to be built out there. That's a place, maybe the outdoor patio or bricks, or selling some bricks there to create, like a nice outdoor restaurant type feel. So there might be an opportunity there. Karen, again, some bricks or something, or a program for that. But the concession stand, at one point, I'm thinking, what are we going to do with it? But then as things start going with the master plan, you're thinking, wow, this could be a nice little amenity there.
I think we could do a lot with that. We could sell stuff out of that. I mean, maybe we could do the community service project in that building.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have a lot of time to think about different programs or ideas with it as things progress.
Definitely.
Open space user group. I throw this out there. One of the things that I haven't really taken a dive into is the open space, because there's been so many other things on my plate and more of a priority. But in my time in Wallingford, we did, because Tyler Mill was over 1,000 acres, it impacted many different users and many different neighborhoods because of its size and the way it was laid out. We had problems with alternative adult behavior. We had problems with illegal dumping. We had problems with people taking rocks and taking all kinds of things out of there. And then you had the mountain bikers that were going in there with headlamps at night with chainsaws, blazing new trails. You have the hunters, the Wallingford Rod and Gun Club is in it. The fishermen are in there with the Muddy River. There was just so many things, but we had a couple of meetings, one in the spring, one in the fall, just to kind of get everybody together, the property abutters. What do you see? What do you experience? It was an opportunity for the horseback people, the mountain bikers, the hunters, everybody to get into a room to hear each other's needs and how they want to use the space. I'm not really sure how great Cheshire spaces are being utilized. I know that there's horseback. I know that there's certain mountain bike, but I don't know if it's on a regular basis. Hiking programs, things. Do you see a need for something like this? Or is it just another meeting that we don't want to be dragged to? Would it have a good purpose? I just throw it out there because I'm not sure.
So, okay, what are your thoughts on now doing this, what, on a monthly basis or something, you mean?
Well, no. What, just having an initial meeting of, I know that Councilman Jinx has reached out to me a couple times about mountain bike programming.
Yeah.
I don't know, do we want to expand anything on that? Or just leave open space the way it is with the maps that we have? Maybe that's the starting point, is correcting the maps.
Yeah.
And then as we do that,
Just one opinion, I'm not even sure what it is yet of mine, but when we were looking, I was really pushing to use the open space. When we started the dog park, I met with the horseback riders. I can't remember her last name now. It was Kathy something. I have it written down somewhere. And they were perfectly happy being by themselves and left alone. Like, they had made so many trails around here. They weren't actually interested in making another one. Because we weren't sure what we were going to do at first. Horseback riding, dog park, both very low costs, we thought. So I don't know if that group will be very vocal, but I just worry about other groups maybe and may want you to spend money. So I don't know if you'd be opening up a whole, like, as long as they don't think that we're going to go spend a lot of money in all of their different endeavors, whatever they might be.
well, money wasn't really my target right now. It was just really
Right.
the management of the space. Is it being used the way it
Yeah.
should be? Could it be better? Could it be better accessible? Are there problems out there? Are there problems for some of the budding neighbors that we don't hear about? Or is it really, am I just going down a wrong trail?
Yeah, I think you're going to find a lot of complaints, because that's how this town is. And they're going to fall on your lap. But
Yeah, if I could, I know I've already talked with you, John, about Dime Savings, because I used to live over on the west side of town. And so I know the Dime Savings property pretty well. We used to walk those trails back there. And I know with the town looking to develop a new facility with affordable housing on Hazel Street, which abuts the Dime Savings property. Been watching closely, our coalition has been watching closely that development and that proposal, because that development would allow us access to the Dime Savings property. And with that property, one of the problems that we've had as a town is that we've not had public access to it because it's landlocked. And I know Wolcott looked at trying to open up a parking lot on their side of the town line to access the Cheshire, our Cheshire property, our open space. But it's beautiful back there. Yeah, I know Jim Jinks would like to do bike trails. I'd hate to see bikes all over that spot, but it's a big parcel of land. It's over 300 acres. And you could do things like bike trails along I-84, where it's noisy anyway, and it's still mountainous, so the bikers would probably like it, but you could have walking trails on the other side that's closer to the Cheshire border and Wolcott border. But we need access. And with this developer looking to develop that land, it's something we should be talking with our town planner about in terms of gaining access, if that's something that we can provide an easement, a right of way for the public to access the trails back in the Dime Savings property. So it's just, so I guess to answer your question, yeah, I do think there is an opportunity for us here. And I think a subcommittee that explores some of the options of our open spaces would be worthwhile. I know that we have open space over by the Clearview Farm Preserve over off of Mountain Drive. And there were people who are looking for access. And I know in the Cheshire Community Forum recently, there were people asking, whatever happened to that trail access to the Blue Trail that's right along the ridge there, the Prospect Ridge. And that Blue Trail is actually a trail that my husband manages for CFPA right now. And Prospect Land Trust has looked to expand the Blue Trail. And it's something that we could actually look at through the Dime Savings property, expanding the Quinnipiac Blue Trail through our town, all the way down to Sleeping Giant, which I think would be great. I think it would be a fabulous asset to add to our town in terms of being connected to this statewide trail system. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that we could potentially explore in this town. So I think would be worthwhile. Yeah, you're going to have resistance. Some people just like things the way they are. But I think particularly now in COVID times, these parks have been full of people. Any of you have been out into these parks. I mean, they're full. People are really beginning to appreciate our parks and open spaces. So I think, will there be funds coming down from federal government at some point, or even the state, to support our national park system? This is a time for us to really start thinking, I think, about some of those possibilities. And they don't have to cost a lot of money. So my 2 cents.
That's nice. No, it's nice to hear that too, Fiona. You're right. I just think as long as John knows he's going to be opening up a lot of work for himself, which is fine. And that's what we're here for. It sounds like you have a lot of information, Fiona. This might be right up your alley here. You could help him on this. So it does sound great.
If we're talking about passive recreation, like hiking on the Blue Trail, I don't think neighborhood input is really important. I think, this public space and people walking through there, we're not talking about setting up dirt bikes and having races. We're talking about a nice passive trail, right, Fiona?
Well, I was thinking more of what Fiona was saying, access to. Sounds like there may be a lot of things that we might need to get done. That's all I was pointing out.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I think it's particularly right now in this development phase, because if you've been down in that property, what exists there now it's a dilapidated convalescent home that has been abandoned for the last 10 years by the pond on the other side of town. And so Lamplight Realty owns the land, and they're looking to develop that land. And the facility they're looking to put in looks great, but we would have to work with them to gain access. And so if you
it sounds like it's the right time.
Yeah,
to do that.
And I just don't want to lose it, because we did lose access with the Clearview Farm Preserve development. There was a potential for access to the Blue Trail there, but when the hearings were going through P&Z, COVID hit, and it all just kind of got lost, So now we don't have access to that trail, and there's a possibility we could still gain access to that trail, some other points along Mountain Road, but there is no parking, and so that's something, Again, I think if we were to better assess the open spaces that both the Cheshire Land Trust and the town own, because particularly where the Clearview Farm is right off of Mountain Road, there was open space that's owned by the town, and there's open space that's owned by the Cheshire Land Trust, and it really would have been a beautiful place to create parking and an access, but that's been lost. So just beginning to think about what are other things that we might be able to do in terms of providing access to that passive recreation outside of just the Brooksvale Park right there. What's the waterfalls?
Roaring Brook.
Roaring Brook. So there's a small parking lot there by Roaring Brook, but if there were other access points along Mountain Road to allow access to those trails.
Okay.
So Pat, so just to kind of summarize, my whole point for bringing it up was, I have responsibilities to open space to some degree. So I thought maybe this could be a starting point, or maybe we just need to maybe have a subcommittee of a couple of us and maybe just bat around some ideas or get a starting point, or even if it's just simply starting with Suzanne and looking at the trail maps and doing some field walks here or there and take an assessment, like Fiona said, of some of the areas and what do we need to do? I mean, I haven't gotten any complaints on anything, so all is well. As it is, maybe it's you just let the sleeping dog lie, but I also want to know what's going on. So if we should be doing something, we're being responsible about it.
Right.
What's going on with the property on Fenn Road? Do we know anything about that yet? The Ricky property that he donated with the water company in town, paying, I guess, splitting the cost of it, and it was the Dominicus property.
Yeah, it was a split between RWA, Cheshire Land Trust, and the town.
And so,
there's really nothing happening with it. It's the plan is to leave it as passive recreation.
So, are they going to put a little parking area there so we can access it off of Fenn Road?
It hasn't been discussed yet.
Okay.
My 2 cents, I think, John, first thing to do is complete inventory of what you have and what is accessible to the public. And when you do the inventory, what is it good for? Is it good for just passive walking? Is there some good for horseback? Is there some good for biking? And then if it is, then see if we have the parking for it, and
Well,
and then figure out before you bring the other groups in.
Suzanne does have that. I mean, I did sit with her
Okay.
a year ago to go through the big binder that's in my office, and we went through every parcel and I made notes, but some of the parcels don't allow mountain bikes, but they allow horseback and some other things. So, you know, do you go back to look to change those? Can that property really support mountain bikes? Is there ample parking? Do we have parking going into neighborhoods or off the side of the road? Can we do things a little bit better is what I'm trying to get at. And maybe just going back, and if there's a few of us, or we could have, you know, not a full meeting like this, but maybe there's a group of us that are interested in it, want to sit down with me one day and go through that book and the notes that I took, and just maybe see where that goes.
I think parking's the biggest issue at most of our open spaces, our passive recreation ones. There's just not enough parking to have a big group of people go do something. Because when we purchased these ones, we never put any parking in. We never made a contingent to putting parking in them. So that limits how many people can go in at a time.
So maybe there's opportunity to pursue that. Maybe there's not,
Yeah.
but it'd be great to investigate, or at least
I think
look at it.
Yeah, take the property that has the most ability to have, say, passive walking, horses, and mountain bikes, like Dime property. See if we can find an area where we can put a 25 or 30 spot parking lot, and then we can use it for that.
Well, they get there somehow now, so
Yeah, they're mostly in the neighborhoods.
I just worry about,
You don't want people parking all over the streets and interrupting everybody else to go do something.
No.
You want to give them a legit, like we talked about with the Dodd tennis courts. We'd love to
Yep.
expand it and put a big pickleball court, but there's not a lot of parking there.
right.
So it could limit what you could put in there, because otherwise they're going to back up like they used to do at Legion Field when baseball season was going on, and the neighbors were complaining every week. And Peter doesn't want any more phone calls, so we don't want to do that.
No, I understand what you're saying, Mike. I'm just saying that that's how it goes in open spaces, I guess, in towns, is that people manage to get there without creating a lot of that. I don't think us putting a spotlight on it is going to make people come out of the woodwork.
No, I'm not saying I'm not sure it's spotlighted, but we should look and maybe see if we can get some parking for some of these spaces so more people can utilize them. The town paid for them, they're there. Let's see what we can do to get more people to use them
John's got
responsibly.
the right idea. Let's take an inventory of all the parks, and we'll move this along.
All right.
Okay.
See what we have and what is possible.
And just one other thing, Pat, that we've been around this before. If you make a committee, then it has to run by all the bylaws. And that's the tricky part of making subcommittees. That's why we don't do it. So I know that it's just something we have to look into. If John wants to try to get a group of people together, we can't call it a committee, I don't believe.
Maybe Rob knows about that.
Yeah, well, anytime, right? And Peter obviously can participate in this too. I believe anytime we have any kind of, it technically counts as a meeting if we if a group of us get together and discuss an official business. You know, obviously you can have informal communications that can then be part of our official communications at a later date.
There you go.
So
How many people make it mandatory to have a public meeting? Do you know?
You have to have less than a quorum of the full commission.
So us, it'll be 4.
I didn't know it was simple, Peter. That sounds simple. Okay, good.
All right, John?
All right,
Anything
yeah,
else?
no, if anybody's interested, maybe email me, or, you know, we could, if it's 1 or 2, or there's not really an interest, that's fine. And we could just one day grab a cup of coffee or something, go through the book and make some notes, and then report back to the whole body here.
Okay.
Okay.
This is going to be a work in progress anyway. Memorial Day Parade. There's been some action with Mr. White and Sean Kimball back and forth. Right now, the parade planning committee is looking at a drive-through Memorial Day Parade that weekend of the 22nd, 23rd, because of the pandemic and mass gatherings of people. Jeff Falk will head up the parade route planning group utilizing the Police Explorers program, and Leslie Marinero will head up publicity promotion, sign up of the groups, and the rec department staff will provide support as necessary.
Where will they be driving through?
Peter's got to make up the map. I don't think he's developed that just yet.
Okay.
As soon as we know, that we'll share it. Budget we talked about. I just put a listing of some of the items that I included in my the capital 5-year plan, the Mixville Pavilion building for refuge and programming that I alluded to previously. Hopefully there could be some dollars if the project's accepted for the development of at least phase 1 of the Chapman Bartlam. Rolling Acres Tennis Court needs renovations severely. Park shade seating upgrades are further out. Mark just had this past fall, the Quinnipiac roller court was crack repaired and sealed, so that buys us a little bit more time there. Cheshire Park tennis pickleball lights, that would certainly extend and make available those pickleball courts that are used constantly to other groups. And instead of calling it the Showmobile, Peter, I'm calling it the full-scale mobile performance system for you.
John, I don't think anybody will recognize that way.
A nice disguise. Now, and then the performance measures along with all the other line items were already submitted. And like I said before, I'm waiting to sit down with Sean. I did attend the Chamber's Fall Festival planning meeting earlier this week. Right now, they're looking for setup of September 8th and 9th, fireworks on the 10th, the festival on September 11th, with Sunday the rain date. They're looking for a lot more new activities. They're looking to move Steve the Car Show from the Chapman farm back over to the front of Cheshire High School, the parking lot, like it's been there before. They're not sure about the Kiwanis involvement with the carnival yet. And then there was discussion about eliminating the big, large tent and then maybe having people just bring their own pop-up tents without, banging things into the ground and going through irrigation systems and creating issues, and then having mass people underneath one big tent. And they're also looking to increase the food truck fees for the day for another opportunity. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
John, and maybe this is a question for Yetta, but what was the thought process behind moving the fireworks to Friday night as opposed to Saturday?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't they do it this past Friday? This past year on a Friday? Have they always been?
It's always been after the festival day.
Mike, you're muted.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, it's usually the night. It's usually Saturday night that the fireworks are.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final night.
And this is going to, according to the schedule you just read, it was going to be Friday night.
Yeah, because you know what? She asked about, because I had asked about football, and then I had texted Steve while we were having the meeting to see if the high school football schedule was created, and he had said that it hasn't been yet, but there was never ever a problem before. Maybe I got the dates wrong, and I'll have to go back, but I'm pretty sure she had said fireworks Friday, festival Saturday, but maybe I got it wrong.
It's been so long since we've had a fall festival, so.
No, Friday night was a concert, and then Saturday was the festival all day and fireworks at night.
So maybe that's what it was. The concert's Friday night, the festival Saturday during the day, fireworks Saturday night, rain date Sunday.
That could be it.
That's probably what it is.
No virtual fireworks.
No.
No laser show.
No laser show.
All for Cast Laser Festival is off.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Come on, Paul,
I
do
motion
something.
Paul,
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
okay. Karen,
Sure.
okay. Discussion, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye, aye.
Hey,
Bye.
Yank
See you next